this morning. And just in case you haven't been with us for day 1 and day 2, kindly, can we all just get into the same energy? Please, can we all stand? Can we reach to the heavens? Can we reach across all our terrains? Because of Hapilo's comment yesterday, I'm not going to ask us to touch the ground, but I do ask that you lift your left leg and your right leg. Can we flick out the tension? Can we give ourselves a round of applause for an amazing 2 days? Please be seated, and can we have an incredible final day for our 2040 Vision 2040 Indaba. I'd like to ask to come on stage for our presentation of action plan, POA, and outcomes, Ms. Bulelwa Koyana, SANParks board member, and Ms. Skumsa Nchanga, Vision 2040 project lead.
A very good morning to everyone, and I must just say protocol is observed. We have now come to the last day of our wonderful 3-day Indaba of Greater Ado. It's often said that it's the finishing that counts. So we are truly wishing that we part ways today, being very clear of what these 3 days has been about and how do we begin to move the needle and take it further. I have Skumsa, as it's been said. She is the custodian of this, and she will be the one then that begins to be the face and the contact person in terms of taking it forward. Thanks, Skumsa. Now, we're starting with a preamble that basically states that the Greater Ado Indaba of 2025, this is how we will refer to this, it's united in a shared commitment to fostering a harmonious relationship between humanity and nature, championing sustainable development, and promoting well-being. We are here guided by principles that will ensure that we are striving for a prosperous and a resilient future for generations to come. We are affirming that conservation is about people, it's about landscapes, social cohesion, it's about partnerships, innovation, and youth engagement, which are very, very central to our future. We do know that we are a continent that is endowed with the most youngest of people. So it becomes extremely vital that our people become central to all what we are doing today. Now, we are very cognizant of the barriers that we have that really can either we succumb to them or we truly just forge forward. I remember, I think it was Simphiwe Somgyala who said that we will definitely be having challenges as we go on this route, but we cannot dare relax or succumb to that. And we're saying that these challenges, what they are emphasizing more than anything is a collective effort that the whole society, as we are gathered here today, ought to have an alignment and an ability to move forward. There are guiding principles to this, and it's so vital to emphasize the adherence to standards, because a principle is one thing that will always put us in the right frame to say that this is about partnerships. Therefore, this is not necessarily just about SANParks. It's about partnership, it's about collaboration. This is a very much a community-led initiative. We say conservation is about communities, and the paradigm shift has taken place to say communities must begin to be very proactive in terms of saying, how do they take this forward? We are very much about recognizing indigenous knowledge systems. Thank you. I'm going to expand on these principles. The partnerships that we are about, private sector, all developed economies have got a very, very vibrant private sector that takes the lead. So I am very happy to have seen private sector being represented here today. It's about NPOs, non-profit organizations, community-based initiatives. Once more, where community, it says, there has to be a proactive stand. Communities can no longer be trailing behind. It's about international collaborations. There are global standards that we need to be adhering to and always benchmarking ourselves. Already, we are really viewed as a country to be in the leadership with regards to conservation, and therefore ensuring that we maintain that position or we begin to exceed it with this adoption. Government agency partnerships, civil society, traditional leaders, traditional healers, government department and entities, funding institutions. These become extremely vital to ensure that our partnerships and collaborations are working. Now, community-led conservations, as we said, we are now about elevating local knowledge. We heard, for example, yesterday, the expertise that is said to be lying with herders. So it is no longer about local knowledge being at the back. Local knowledge is being elevated from now on. Community engagements and active participations. Undoubtedly, then, communities need to take a proactive stance in terms of how they organize themselves to ensure that they are leading this initiative. It's about collaboration. Sustainability becomes the focus point, and being a long-term issue, this is now beginning to change the way we're doing things for futures to come. And we are saying that we will be having biannual think tanks whereby we are focusing on these 4 areas. Recognizing the indigenous knowledge systems, where we're saying they are very key to this Vision 2040. We are appreciating, embracing, and assimilating our traditional practices, our beliefs, and knowledge of our local ecosystems. That becomes extremely vital in our ability to move forward. Our cultural values, and we need to be agile, adopting a very adaptive capacity to be able to accomplish this. Now, with regards to community engagement framework, we will be looking at policies to make sure that they are enabling, because too often it's our policies that begins to inhibit that. We are going to be having active platforms with community involvement, and technology also begins to very much play an important role in as far as that is concerned. And also community communication protocols, which are reinforcing the two-way communications. It is very important that communities come up with their protocols to say, this is how we do things. We were just talking of an example yesterday where we have CSI projects that we have adopted. And when we're saying we are doing this, but community is saying, no, we would like to be seeing this that is being done. So now let us not be moving ahead while communities are having different expectations. This has got to be a very close marriage where there is absolute alignment in as far as that is concerned. And community trusts that really are established for benefit sharing. That becomes important then, that communities begin to share in whatever proceeds that are coming up from these conservations. There has been a commitment of saying there will be expansion of the community land. You moved a bit too fast there. There was the last point. There will be an expansion of the community land to enable this. That becomes extremely important. It's okay. Let's leave it. Now, we highlighted that the legislation becomes prohibitive, and therefore we will be revisiting now our legislative and policy frameworks to ensure that they begin to assist us. Fortunately, you were all here when our minister was committing to this, so as a follow-up, we are definitely going to be engaging the minister with regards to NEMPA, with regard to NEMBA. We are going to ensure that the mega living landscapes are enabled and that there is a legislative and a financial reform that begins to take place. Also, with regards to the financial component, it becomes very vital then that we look at how we mobilize funding. And once again, this is not only on one side, this is all of us here. We should be very concerned to say how we mobilize funding. And fortunately, there is a means of communication whereby as you learn of whatever can assist in as far as that is concerned, you are able to forward it to the Vision 2040 team that is led here by Skumza. Skills development, as we mentioned here, we've got our young people in particular. It's so important that we impart skills that will enable them. So we are calling on environmental on the private sector to assist us on that, on environmental education, that our curriculum needs to be very much improved. Our SETAs need to be assisting us with the skills that are targeting, especially our youth. Technology becomes a great enabler, and it's important that we leverage on that. Research and knowledge management, that becomes very critical to make sure that mega living landscapes are implementable. A way forward, we are promising and we will adhere to ensuring that on the 19th of September, this month, you will be receiving the English report. It will be circulated to all the attendees that are here. Whilst we are doing that, we will also be translating it into all our indigenous languages. So by the end of September, everyone will be able to have a copy, and it can then be shared without English being a prohibition with people that don't really understand it or are fluent in it. And further to that, it's a collaborative action problem. The next 12 to 36 months is all we have to truly ensure that this begins to work. And as we say, biannual think tanks are going to be fundamental for us to pause, reflect, and say, where are we? Where are we missing each other? How do we begin to align so that we continue to look forward? And we say we are benchmarking, we are doing research, therefore this becomes a very living document. This becomes a very living, agile approach, and becomes very important that our communication with one another enables that. That is the way forward. Thank you. We want to take this opportunity now to ask for questions or comments, because this is not ours.
My real concern is the way forward, and also how you actually set out in terms of how you're going to interact with the input that we've made during the sessions. is missing this one fundamental integration issue that we have in terms of the biodiversity economy. I think there's not enough emphasis to really catapult our communities into the mainstream of this biodiversity value chains that are currently out there, that has not transformed yet and is not inclusive. So I think that's maybe the one missing point that I really need to highlight in terms of that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We are noting that, but undoubtedly, as I've been just talking, this is very much about communities. So that integration is the core. Without it, we cannot move forward. So thank you for emphasizing the point. Yes, sir?
Good day. Good day. My name is Kagiso Mphela from Thabazimbi.
Yes.
I want to emphasize the matter of the market. The new entry into the market is a problem because of small businesses. They struggle to get into the market. For example, the SANParks accommodated us at Town Lodge. It was going to be nice when you get into a shower, you get a shower gel that is produced by the locals, that is branded by, that the branding of the, we understand that the entities, they also want to promote their brand, but it is important that the entities that are established, they can at least bring the upcoming entities so that they can be out there as well. It would be nice if I take a shower with a local brand of a small business that is around the area. And the other thing that I want to, the point that I want to put through is the issue of supporting the rurals with information, especially compliance. Because the funding is not the problem, actually, because the government does fund. A lot of entities, they do support financially. But the problem is that our locals, when you do an application, you find that you are not compliant with CIPC or you are not compliant with SARS, you will not be funded. But that information, we don't get it. And then it becomes a barrier for small businesses to be funded. I think that needs to be improved as well. And also SARS need to come in. Because some entity, you register a company and then you tell yourself that I submitted an application, but then every 6 months you need to submit, even though you are not trading, but you need to submit your returns. But now when you are not submitting, then you are not compliant. When they check you on the system, you are not compliant. And our entities, they don't come back to us as applicants that we did not fund you because of 1, 2, 3. But when you apply at the bank, they can give you a report that we did not fund you because you don't qualify, your scoring is too low. But when you apply to the government, they don't give you feedback why you did not fund it. They just keep quiet. So at least we need to, the government needs to improve on the issue of communication, especially after submitting an application. Thank you.
Thank you. Very clear. Barriers to entry. And I do believe that you are once again emphasizing the importance of collaboration, which is even beyond, because issues of SARS may not be becoming fundamental to it's more about the establishment now of our entities, but hence we spoke about the skills training. That becomes very important, and therefore I do think that, Skumza, you're getting the importance of us having points of contacts within the likes of SARS, CIPC, so that we can be able to ensure that they do the trainings as well to our people. Thank you for that. I think the chairperson had her hand up, CEO.
Okay. In the commission we had yesterday, which was on inclusivity, economic inclusivity, one of the comments we made was that there are 4 fundamentals to accelerating enterprise development or SMME development. 1 is access to funding. 2 is access to the market. What's the 3rd one? Remind me. But the most critical one that came out of our engagements yesterday was access to information. So that is very critical. As much as we may not have an influence over SARS, I mean, it's also about the interconnectivity of government departments and what role we are playing in at least providing information. We can't change rules for SARS, but at least we can provide information. So it's just me acknowledging that there was that addition in our commission that was around access to information, that we take for granted may not necessarily be known by up-and-coming enterprises. Yeah. You said,
Thank you, CE. Just to add also on that, though, once again, I do believe that the issue of communities also taking a lead in as far as engaging the likes of telcos to ensure that there is an ability for communication to be easily disseminated in their communities becomes an extremely vital. So I could not emphasize enough the need that there has got to be organization from here. Communities should be gathering together and saying, how do they organize themselves to ensure that they also engage these other entities that we are talking about. And also further to that, we have begun now also on the SMME side as SANParks. How many SMMEs have we been able to assist? I actually even remember with regards to this, the showering, the gels, we've got SMME that is already doing that. So it's about then enabling them in as far as access to market. So undoubtedly that is something that we'll be approaching. Do you want to add anything on that, Skumza?
Good morning, everyone. I think between you and the CEO, you have really covered the question. And indeed, we believe that our SMMEs are very critical in terms of unlocking our economy, especially for South Africa being the 3rd most biologically diverse country in the world after Brazil and Indonesia. So we are hard at work, working with quite a number of partners, like Sanlam, in terms of unlocking this space. I think the CEO spoke about issues around access to markets, access to finance, training, skills development. We want to deepen the work that we are already involved in with some of the SMMEs. But I just want to indicate that we're looking at all the different areas of focus in terms of biodiversity economy, not just in terms of wildlife economy, but also in terms of the other aspects around bioprospecting economy, which is another hugely untapped areas, especially with our richness in species. We also looking into ocean economy. So all of these different value chains are very, very important for us to open them up for our SMMEs to benefit. We are already working with some partners, especially in terms of training beneficiaries, in terms of the production of the different products, be it products that are made from animal skin, be it products that are made from plant material. And I don't want to steal the show from some of the agreements that we'll be signing here today, but we are working in that regard. But I think the main issue is scaling up, and scaling up, and ensuring that we expand our current reach to all the mega living landscapes, our national parks, and working with other key partners, our provincial counterparts, in terms of the provincial protected areas, and even working with local government as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson.
Okay. Thank you very much and good morning to everybody. I've got a couple of points which are not necessarily points to respond to, but maybe the drafters could enhance the text. In improving the text.
Yes, thank you.
In the kind of like in preambular paragraph, I think the point about our capturing in the fact that we are a mega diverse country, it's because it then gives a context what we're talking about. Secondly, an issue about or a recognition that right at the beginning that the implementation of Vision 2040 must be done collaboratively. So it doesn't, because I think the risk that even the way we're responding, we're falling into the trap of how SANParks and what SANParks is doing. But this is an outcome of a collective. So ngiyanicela bakithi, that the outcome is not a SANParks outcome. It is this conference outcome. So if people are raising issues to be added, they are not saying SANParks deal with these issues or what is SANParks doing with it. So I think let's try and just frame our mind in that sense. So that's the first point. Then I've got other points. I don't know where they fit, but I'm not a drafter. So I'm just going to say, I'm going to talk about how we could, and then the drafters can give us a draft that would set these things or take these things into consideration. I think, and I'll just say what those things are. One is that I think we need to be, I am missing the economic thrivability narrative even in the principles. I don't know if that's a principle, but somewhere. So that drafters will see how we deal with issues of economic thrivability and financial inclusion. Because if we are talking, because there's a difference between funding and financial inclusion. And I think in our text, we need to bring in financial inclusion. I think there's something about, I think in the opening paragraphs as well, strengthening our capacity and enhancing our capability to implement collectively and across the board. We're not talking SANParks because I think sometimes when we talk about enhancing or building capability or capacity, is that we tend to, we equate that to be training. It's the way, if you remember the presentations that were made yesterday, I don't know which one it was, they were even talking about changing our collective mindset. Because we are shifting, this is a paradigm shift. And therefore, if it's a paradigm shift, we also need to change the way we think. And it's not a skills development program or a training program. It's something more than that. So those, and I think we need to then put those, add something like those things up. Then I think that we could do more on climate resilience. There is a word somewhere, but I think we need to talk about what does it mean and how do we collectively respond to climate resilience. I think in the earlier slides, I don't know what slide it was, we spoke about policy reforms. But I think then later on you did pick up this point about legislative. But I think quite early on, I think there's a consistent thing because our legislation was never developed to have what we now have as mega living landscapes. So it's not just a policy matter, but it's also a legislation matter. I think you must pick it up early on in the text. I'm covered about I think maybe in the earlier paragraphs as well, the preambular paragraph, we need to also talk about, I think Skumza and the CEO covered this, but I'm just saying because it's in my notes, so I will add it. Biodiversity economy, and Skumza added the bioprospecting economy, because we also need to recognize that what is our contribution, because it's also our selling point, the outcome of this. So what is our contribution in terms of the economy? Then I noted that we didn't mention NGOs in those organizations. I think they play a critical role in terms of implementing this. There could be other, I know it's not an exhaustive list. I thought something happened with the expansion. It was just a heading, no meat. Sifuna inyama, sis. So can we put nyama in that economic thing? Because the other ones, you've got some nyama. But then when we speak about expansion of our protected area and conservation areas, I think we said, it's said in this thing. But then, so can we include that? And I want to add one last point, and that is, I do not dispute that, and I accept that the youth is important, and for also the young at heart. But if you talk about some of the impacts, whether it's climate change, whether it's just general issues around food security, which population group is most affected? It's a woman. There is nowhere that we talk about women in this. And I would like to see something that addresses, otherwise, keep. Women play a significant role, but in conservation and building our economies and sustaining our economies or our society. But I think at the same time, we cannot, when we sit here and say, but they still remain not mainstream in the value chain. So whether you're talking beneficiation, there was a deliberate effort to have women in attendance here, but under normal circumstances, you would think that there's less women in this country or within the sector. So I would urge that the women support me and other men.
Wamandla.
Ukawa says we must elevate.
Elevate.
So that would be my next comment. So they're a bit all over the show, but it's for the drafters to then include some of the things that for me I suggested.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. Chair, what I'm also missing is potentially change management. That's going to be very vital, even at community level, to say how do we then ensure that there are change management representatives that are enabling us to get communities and everyone else to begin to understand where we're going. Thank you. Over you, Brajari.
I think there was a lady there before me.
There's another hand. Okay, thank you. How can I forget? Sorry, man.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Pale Santala, and I have a few requests that I would like us to add. Firstly, I would like that the youth-led organizations and the youth are added as one of the collaborators, because as Umama is saying, this is not a skills development program. And as youth, we have already, and we have so many programs that we've created that are in alignment with Vision 2040. So to not reinvent the wheel, would like to be one of the collaborators so that we can have an input on what we have developed already and how can that be integrated going forward. Secondly, I think one of the people that are missing is the informal traders from a tourism perspective. I think they're almost always forgotten and left behind, and there's a lot of red tape when it comes to informal traders. So how do we include them in this Vision 2040? So I think that we need to maybe think about how we can do that. And another thing is people living with disability. And I think they are not represented as much as I would like to see them being represented, because climate change does not affect us in the same way. And we need to hear their voices as well and how they would like to see this vision being implemented and how they would like to contribute to the vision. So those are my 3 points that I would like us to consider. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And what's so important, Sisi, is that when you receive the document, reinforce this by also inserting it back to SANParks, to Vision 2040. Thank you. Dr.
Good morning, colleagues, and thank you, Chair. Firstly, I think congratulations to SANParks for Vision 2040. I think it's an incredible initiative. It's big, it's audacious, and my contribution is, I think, twofold. One is I can just say to SANParks that you can count on us to support from a TBCSA and a business point of view. This is a vision that aligns, as I said 2 nights ago, with what we do. But I also want to challenge us to think differently about SANParks. I mean, I was listening to a colleague here talking about market access. We speak about market access as if it's something that's there. SANParks is a channel for that market access. So let's think of SANParks as, and I'm going to make an example in a minute, Chair. So I'm not scribbling or what do you call it? Scribe things, but I want to take the Chair's point just one step forward to say, Kruger alone has over 8,000 beds. Now let's imagine that we use those beds as ways to sell and give market access to the very people who are in these rooms, the communities that are around us, by selling whatever it is, whether it's an art or a craft or the soap or whatever it is. If we start thinking like that, and also, and I'm going to challenge my deputy chairperson from SATSA here, that we link up with someone like SATSA, that on the inbound tourists who are coming, even as they book, we start promoting the products that they are going to find in those rooms so that the sale happens almost psychologically,
That's right.
even before they board the bus, I'll say train, oh my gosh, sorry. They board the plane to come into the country.
Yes.
And we then target them as they land. I think, Chair, if we do that, it's a small thing. It does need to be coordinated. And I'm going to put you on the spot to partner with SANParks in some form. We will support where we can. Technology becomes a critical thing in this instance. So if a local community person has an artifact and it's in a room and they like it, why can't they buy it? They buy it on the spot, somebody delivers it to them, we get another one, it comes in there, the show goes on. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Colleagues, that is private sector. You know, countries like Philippines are extremely ahead because of how the private sector is moving forward. So it becomes very vital, as I was saying, and we have been saying, paradigm shift. I think a time has come for us to stop thinking government, as communities, as South Africa, we start thinking ourselves with the collaborations with the private sector. So thank you very much. CEO.
Chairperson of TBCSA, Deputy Chair of SATSA. We take it as a pledge. Thank you.
Absolutely.
What were you saying about trains? Those who know why you're thinking of a train. But I think the point I want to make is this is an evolutionary process. And the vision was co-created, the solutions have to be co-created. And it is becoming more and more apparent as we engage with this aspiration that we have. Firstly, the complexities. And also, as I've indicated, how collaborations and partnerships are a cornerstone to success. There's no way we can do it alone. Dr. Du Plessis, we thank you for being a partner. So, there's another element. We're evolving, we're fixing as we're going, as we learn more. But what's also becoming apparent is we can't have these engagements once a year. Because in that passage of time, opportunities are lost in that 12 months. We will still have an annual Indaba, but it was fleshed on the presentation earlier. I think we called it think tanks. So it will be biannual at the beginning, think tanks, perhaps structured according to the themes of yesterday's commissions. So we need to keep those conversations going. Not only keeping the conversations going, but also creating accountability amongst ourselves as a network. So there definitely will be that economic inclusion think tank that I will be leading, Mr. Mabena, and that's why your pledge was so critical. All I'm saying is, as we walk out of here, this is not the last communication. There is a lot that needs to be polished up and refined. And for me, those think tanks are very critical. Ideally, it would have been quarterly, but let's under-promise. And perhaps once we get on the ground, we can then see whether it is possible to deliver those think tank discussions on a quarterly basis. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think also just the whole issue of enterprise development within, where we say, with what we already have, how do we enable? Okay.
Thank you. Good morning. My
Good
name is Abrahami Potgieter. I am involved with the SANParks Honorary Rangers. I think a lot have been said here about broadening the scope of what conservation is all about. For me, this has the potential really to come to national regeneration, which is exciting for South Africa as a whole. There's one important aspect that we actually left out, and that is the role that religious institutions can play in changing the minds, in bringing about more substantial change, and to ensure that that stewardship that we see for ourselves is actually broadened into the broad community. Churches, religious institutions are integral in South Africa, and they play a vital role. So my plea would really be that we consider bringing them on board as well. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. That is civil society, undoubtedly. And once again, the need of just those change management representatives that begin to engage the civil society, that begins to engage the church. Just some degree of mobilization becomes very vital for everyone. Thank you for emphasizing that point. And once again, when you receive the document, please ensure that you respond with that input so that it is certainly factored. Thank you. Yes.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nomathemba Langa. I am the Managing Director of Inyama Yethu. Today, I stand here representing women and youth and people in the meat industry. In terms of the partnership with SANParks, I would like to say, can you allow us access to the abattoir and your chilling facilities so that we can enable that we're able to supply game meat throughout the year? Because as an SMME, I can't afford an abattoir or a chilling facility on my own. But if SANParks opens that gap and opportunity for us, we are able to ensure that there's traceability in terms of our compliance and that we're able to do the shelf life and that we can do on our own in terms of product testing. But we just need those facilities from you. Thank you.
Thank you. Point taken, and definitely SANParks will look into it. Have we exhausted all inputs? Okay.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Beatrice Jan. I am representing Hangburg York Point Primary Cooperative in Hout Bay, Western Cape. Thank you very much for SANParks for this 2040 vision. However, from my side, I think maybe, if possible, that you can open up a new committee or something, just to make sure that from here in the future, not late future, very near future, from here, as we leave, that there will be a team that is holding our hands to make this 2040 vision a reality. Thanks.
Very innovative and rich inputs that we are receiving. And I think I just wanted to also explain what we have in mind in terms of the rollout establishment of these mega living landscapes. And I think we are saying as SANParks, we are not just focusing on the 4 mega living landscapes that we deem as our pilots, but we are also ensuring that this vision is carried through and embedded into our national park system and beyond. There are other mega living landscapes that have also been identified, and we are not saying that we will only be focusing on the 4, but we are allowing other stakeholders and other partners to also come in. So what we are envisaging is that for each mega living landscape, we will have multi-stakeholder platforms. And we have already started, for example, in the Greater Ado Mega Living Landscape, where for a component of the Greater Ado MLL, we have already established such a system. And we are also then intending to ensure that there is a shared vision and a shared plan for each mega living landscape. So we really appreciate the inputs that we have received over the past 2 days, and we can assure you that the input that was presented here yesterday, in particular, from the commissions, that will then be translated into a program of action. And we don't want a program of action that's going to stay in the shelves. We are going to nudge it with yourselves. We need a time-bound program of action. Whilst understanding that 2040 is still a little bit far, but we do want to commit in the short, in the medium, as well as in the long term. And I think, not sure whether it was CEO who was also indicating that this, and I think people were also reflecting on that over the past 2 days, that this is not a SANParks vision. It's a collective vision. So in that program of action, we will also be thrashing out with yourselves the roles of the different partners, because Vision 2040, for it to be operationalized fully, it needs a whole of society approach. So all of you are very important, and we are quite heartened by some of the commitments that were made even on the first day by the Premier, by the Minister, by the Provincial House of Traditional Leaders. And I'm hoping that as this session proceeds, we'll be seeing a lot more of these commitments and pledges coming from all of you. I think I just wanted to also provide clarity in that regard.
One last. We cannot extend any further. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Matthew Svego from Benoni. We have requested the government about the dead animals like lions and all this, that they mustn't send it to China. And still today, we are waiting for the minister to give us the go-ahead. Like the abattoir, anything that is cut out of any animals, we need them as traditional healer. We use them. Then you sell it to us, we'll buy it. Please, there's no waste that needs to be thrown anywhere else and all that. We need those animals as traditional healer. Please, it's a request, not a command. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And once again, reinforce it in writing, sir, and send it to us. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Two African proverbs come to mind as we close this session to say that unity is a strength, division is a weakness. So it is very vital that we remain very united as we march going forward. And the second one says that sticks in a bundle are unbreakable. So it is so vital that we truly, once again, unite. Because when we do that, we will not be breakable. So with that said, I'm handing over. The channels of communication, they remain open. So please, if anyone has got an input that we have not been able to factor, we're still going to have Sukumza here and her team, and also I do believe we will share our communication channels, email addresses, and how people can ensure that they reach us. Thank you very much.
I've spent the last 3 days with you, and it's been so beautiful to hear you speak your truths, hear you represent your departments, and significantly who we are as South Africans. When I hear young ladies say you represent the youth and women, and I hear our traditional healers ask for our resources to be left here on the continent, not sold elsewhere. And I hear you bring in spirituality that can help us as well with making sure the 2040 vision comes alive. When I heard that we have the third biggest biodiverse country in the world after Brazil and Indonesia, I too know that there's hope, and that we have a great future ahead of us, because we understand how special we are, how beautiful we are, and how much we have. To be the most biodiverse country on the continent of Africa, because essentially that's what this means. If we are the third biodiverse country in the world, it means we are the most biodiverse on the continent. And as we know, the continent is the largest continent on this globe. We have so much to protect. And it's wonderful that we're having these honest conversations. And also from a leadership point of view, it's wonderful that you give time for questions and time for people to voice their concerns, because so many Indabas, as Makosi said yesterday, leadership just speaks and then leaves and doesn't bother to sit around to find out how best we can be better as a country. It's beautiful to witness. I'd like to ask our CEO, Hapilwe Sello, to come onto stage as we now enter our next phase, which is signing of the Memorandum of Understanding from 4 different organizations. We're going to ask each organization to come up individually to sign the Memorandum of Understanding for 2025. First, I would like to ask Good Work Foundation, Ms. Kate Goch, to come up on stage. The Good Work Foundation aims to promote and develop a joint program of work to enhance cooperation and capacity building activities in the implementation of GWF's 2030 strategic plan and SANParks Vision 2040. A momentous occasion, a momentous moment, a moment in history that we are witnessing right now. Our second organization that we'd like to call on stage is Meals on Wheels. Could Yonela Tankwele join us on stage, please? Awu chontombi ngihleli nawe etafuleni awu. Meals on Wheels is to advance the implementation of the shared strategic goals and objectives. Our third organization, Ditabeng CPA, could Mr. Mpho Mutawong join us on stage, please? Ditabeng aims to co-manage agreement that sets out the areas of cooperation in the management of the restored and inside the Golden Gate National Park, as well as the community beneficiation model. The last memorandum of understanding this morning is with People and Parks. Could Mr. Jafta Raphadu join us on stage, please? People and Parks aims to promote and develop a joint program of work to enhance cooperation and capacity building activities in the implementation of SANParks Vision 2040 and Mega Living Landscapes approach, and the People and Parks program itself. Congratulations.
Good morning, everyone. Can I kindly call all my National Executive Committee that I report to, they are in this room, to come and join me, please, now.
Did you pour me a love potion? No. My baby, I can't stop thinking about you. Antonio, baby, I've been thinking about you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of our three-day program. To give us a vote of thanks, I would like to ask Ms. Nandi Manyatula Khoza, SANParks board member, to give us our vote of thanks.
Inkosi kakhulu ku-program director wethu. Phambi kwenu nguMagadebe umthimkhulu uBhungane uHlubi ungelengele. Mehlo amakhulu undlebe enhle zombini. In solidarity with my chair, with Unati and Ulien earlier on. Thank you very much. Molweni. Mine is really to really convey a vote of thanks, our gratitude as the SANParks board to all of you. And you know what? I would like to start by thanking all of you who are still here. You started with us on Tuesday, and you are still here. And I would like you to say to the person sitting next to you, my brother, my sister, well done, keep it up. Ay, gqibani kaloku. Enkosi. So on behalf of SANParks Board, it is my great honor to deliver the vote of thanks at the close of the best ever inaugural annual Vision 2040 Indaba. So these past 3 days have been nothing short of transformative, and we as SANParks Board and staff are deeply grateful for your passion, for your wisdom, and the unity you have brought to this historic gathering. Together, we have taken bold steps towards a future where our conservation is inclusive, sustainable, and a source of pride for all South Africans. Our heartfelt thanks goes to our political principals who were here on the first day. They all pledged their full support for Vision 2040, not just the vision, but also the implementation of it going forward. To the Honorable Minister of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment, Dr. Dion George, for his inspiring leadership and for leading a vision of conservation that places people at its core through Vision 2040. His presence set a powerful tone for our work. The Premier of the Eastern Cape, Mr. Oscar Mabuyane, we thank him for his unwavering support and for reminding us how conservation can drive economic development, economic empowerment, and cultural pride in our provinces. His commitment to the mega living landscapes concept has invigorated us all. The executive mayor who was here, who also pledged her support, the MECs who were here, and I know that there is an MEC here who is in support of Vision 2040 already because we as the board met her a month or so ago. So we thank her in absentia if she's not here. So where there is political will, there is a way. So we do have political will from our political principles. To Inkosi, abantwana begazi, the custodians of our land, sithi siyabulela zinkosi zethu. Also to the traditional healers and the community leaders and representatives, your voices together have been the soul of this Indaba. Thank you for sharing your insights and lived experiences, reminding us that our conservation must honor the heritage and aspirations of those who call these landscapes home. Now, to the champion of 2040 vision, the brains behind Vision 2040, our board chairperson, and I'd like her to stand. You see, I make my chairperson stand. I'm in power here. Ospem, enkosi kakhulu mama siyabulela. And siyabulela for your vision, for your drive. I don't want to call you a slave driver, but you were really the brains behind Vision 2040. And we really express our sincere gratitude to you. And we know that you've worked with a collective. You don't work alone, you are a team player. You worked with the board of SANParks. And I'd like those who are still here to stand. And let us also thank them for working together with the board chairperson and for driving Vision 2040. Your dedication, Chair and board members, ensures that SANParks remains a beacon of excellence in inclusive conservation and community partnership. We also have the engine of Vision 2040, our CEO, the beautiful, brilliant Ms. Hapilwe. Can you stand, ma'am? And again, malibongwe. Igama lamakhosikazi. Wathinta abafazi. Basopa. Of course, she didn't work alone. She doesn't work alone. She works with a team of SANParks, the executive managers who are here, all the managers of SANParks, and all the staff members. But we also have Skumza. Where's Skumza? The project lead. Can we all stand? Team SANParks. CEO and your team, we really want to thank you. We want to thank you for driving Vision 2040 and for listening to our board chair all the time. You have already demonstrated that we have started implementing Vision 2040. So it's not just on paper, but it is being implemented already. You've heard about the strategic agreements that have been signed already. You've seen these material role players who've signed even today, just to demonstrate that Vision 20 is indeed a living document and that it's being implemented and that it's actually bearing fruit already. You've heard about the youth skills development. You've heard about the green jobs. You've heard about the work that is being done to reduce poverty amongst people who live in this mega living landscape. So that's really commendable. Thank you very, very much. Let's also thank our strategic partners as well. And we had the ECPTA board chairperson. I think she's not here this morning, but we have the advocate Kawe, who's here. Before I called her, you know, thank you. She represents the chairperson of ECPTA. Thank you very much, ma'am, for your involvement here as a strategic partners. To all our other strategic partners, including the academia, the scientists, the private sector, the non-governmental organizations, the community-based organizations, our donors, and Omama, siyabulela kakhulu for your expertise and innovative ideas. Your contributions have enriched our vision for sustainable development and biodiversity conservation. To all our speakers that enrich this Indaba with rich knowledge and strategies to make Vision 2040 bring about positive change in our communities. A special word of gratitude to the young delegates. Your energy and bold ideas have challenged us to think forward and ensure that Vision 2040 is a legacy you will inherit with pride. Vision 2040, indeed, as my sister would say, is in great hands. It is definitely in great hands. Remember, some of us in Vision 2040 will be 15 years older, but you, the young people, are here, and you will represent us very well. We have no doubt about that. But also the women, young women and women of all ages, we really thank you for being part of this wonderful Indaba. And please continue to drive this vision in your communities. To the organizing team, I think we've already really expressed our sincere thanks to the organizing team, the facilitators, the rapporteurs, The scribes, the media, the support staff, the photographers, the exhibitors. Your tireless efforts behind the scenes made this Indaba a resounding success. From logistics to ensuring every voice was heard, your work has been invaluable. And you know what? There was no events manager, but they carried it. And thank you very much once more. Our funders and strategic partners, thank you and continue to open the doors and open those purses widely to facilitate development through Vision 2040 in our communities. We had a cultural group when we started, the young men and women who really performed stellarly, and we want to thank them very much for that. I left the last for the best. Our younger sisters, who program managed this Indaba so brilliantly, so beautifully, with such rich knowledge. Oh, Natinkai, can you stand, ma'am? So we can really, really, really applaud you. We love you, we respect you, we thank you so much. Mnandikuthanda kula idols. Ndikuthanda idols. Yes. Nkosi, thank you very much. Of course, Leanne Menas, please, yes, please express our gratitude to Sis Leanne. Siyabulela kakhulu. And to every participant, whether you spoke, you listened, or collaborated in workshops, thank you, thank you, thank you. Nkosi, your presence has made this Indaba a milestone in our journey towards a people in harmony with nature, championing prosperity. We have shown that when we unite across sectors, across communities and generations today and generations to come, we can create a future where nature and people thrive together. As we leave Gqeberha, let us carry forward the spirit of Ubuntu and the commitment to turn Vision 2040 into reality. And again, on behalf of SANParks Board, we thank you for your contributions and your belief in this shared dream. Safe travels, and may we continue this journey together, building parks that reflect the heart and soul of South Africa. Siyabulela kakhulu, masingamlibali umdali bethu nani. We can't have a successful Indaba from day 1 to day 3 so smoothly, you know, no accidents, nothing. And as we go back home, we ask him or her, is it a she or a he, to be with us. To be with us so that we arrive home safely. Enkosi kakhulu siyabulela, Ndolivua, Akenza, Bayadanki, Rialebucha, sithi makube chosi, kube hele.
Thank you to all of you, and that brings us to the end of our program, Namhlanje. Leanne and I were talking, and we were saying that we do many of these, and it is very rare, as Mrs. Nandi said, to have a successful Indaba from day 1 to day 3. My full name is Unathi uThixo ngamaxesha onke, which means the omnipresence of God is with us at all time. So that I ask that he joins us and he takes us all safely to our humble abodes with the same intention that we came. I wish you all the best. These are magnificent ideas and dreams that you have expressed, and I hope in God's name that they all come true. A few announcements before you go. To the delegates that are leaving for the airport now, your shuttles are ready outside. For those of you who are leaving later this evening and tomorrow, please feel free to stick around. Lunch will be served shortly, and to also make connections and to exchange numbers, because business is the order of the day. The shuttles will leave in 2 different time slots tomorrow morning, and please can you pay attention so that you don't miss your shuttles. And these are for the delegates who are leaving tomorrow, which is the 6th of September. The first round of buses will follow the hotels in a specific order, and you will be picked up at 5 a.m. for the first batch. City Lodge, your pickup is at 5 a.m. Town Lodge, your pickup is at 5:10. And Radisson Hotel, your pickup will be 5:20. And Paxton, yours will be 5:30. That is the first round of pickups. I'll repeat that. 5 o'clock, City Lodge. 5:10, Town Lodge. 5:20, Radisson. And 5:30, the Paxton Hotel. The second round of pickups that will be taking place tomorrow morning, City Lodge, 9 o'clock. Town Lodge, 10 minutes past 9. Radisson 9:20 and Paxton 9:30. I'll repeat that one last time. City Lodge 9 a.m., 10 past 9, Town Lodge 20 past 9, Radisson and 9:30 the Paxton. Ladies and gentlemen, all the best for the 2040. You inspire me, you are incredible, and I hope all your dreams that you spoke of today, the universe received and shall make true. Thank you for having me.